Is this good? I just want to test the mic. Okay, we're good? Okay. I guess we'll get started. My name is Ishaq, and I am presenting my senior defense. My advisory teacher has been Miss Mendes for all my time during my high school years. Alright, so introduction, my educational journey. During my kindergarten years, I went to kiddie time, which is where I really got to be more into my education. I remember during that time I was very strict compared to my parents. I actually remember one time I was late for an English test and I got really upset at my mom because I wasn't there, and I was kind of this special group that was more advanced, and I thought they had taken it without me. So during that time, I was really into my education, and then heading into Elenatura, as we can see over here, I tried continuing it. It was only for elementary. Originally, it was planned to go through high school and middle school there, but my parents decided to take me over to Griffith Steam Magnet Middle School, and it was because of a phone call they had gotten from them, and my mom had looked into STEM and Magnet, and when she learned what they were, she wanted me to go into it. And here is when I really learned the phrases STEM and Magnet, which later applied to going to Boyle Heights. So that was during my 6th and 8th grade years. That's also when I went into my first honors class, and it got me into that perspective of wanting to do those type of classes. Now I'm over here in Boyle Heights STEM Magnet, my 9th through 12th grade years. And over here, I have taken more appreciation for the AP classes I have been given, as well as any extra honors classes as well. And going to the future, I will most likely be heading to UC Davis. And I hadn't really originally thought of this, but one of my teachers had asked me if I still want to go to a private college after graduation. And I had thought about it before, but now I'm thinking of the possibility of getting a master's, going to one of my privates. And as you can see here, MIT is one of the privates that I'm still dreaming about. A little bit more about myself. I'm into gaming. Some people may say that's bad, some teachers may not like it, but I personally find joy from it. Another thing that I enjoy is origami. I actually got into that because of elementary school, a little Valentine's party, and I made origami for all my students. Movie and show watching, that's just with my brother, my mom, just my family in general. We normally like to get together. It's a bonding time for us. Documentaries, either on TV or YouTube, anything basically from conspiracy theories to actual people and actual events to cryptids. It can be anything. And philosophy, that one is because of my dad. He's really into philosophy. Throughout my journey, he has given me different types of wisdoms and viewpoints that I had never thought about, and it wasn't until 8th grade when I finally started to pick it up. Some future goals is obviously my 4-year college career. I've showed UC Davis, and I will be going into an engineering field. That engineering field is mechanical engineering, but I might change it on, still not quite sure. Afterwards, I want to be a leader in that said field, and I would also want to be able to get a job with sustainable income. That way I can support not only myself and future family, but my current family and anyone else that may need it that's within my family. As well as this last one's also thanks to my dad, which is continuous growth and knowledge. He believes that we should constantly be able to learn, constantly keep learning things. Even if you may think you know everything in one subject, you probably don't know everything about it. And that's something I have taken to heart. And throughout my school years, I have tried to do that, and I have tried to learn as much as I can, even if it is a subject that's not related to me. So my quote is, "Well done is better than well said." It is by Benjamin Franklin, and the reason why I picked this is because I feel like back in the day, and still even now, I say a lot of things I want to do, but I don't normally do them, and I should always remind myself that doing it is better than just saying it, because actions do speak louder than words. It's a common thing that we hear, that phrase, actions speak louder than words, and I think this one is just a more nice and delicate way of putting it. There we go. So it just kind of stuck with me, and also reminds me that I should act on my passions and these words I'm saying rather than just constantly saying it. Because if you do them, then chances are you'll do them for any future projects. So my purpose here today is to showcase that I have skills like analysis, argumentative, and college ready, which will prepare me for college and outside real-world applications like a job, a mechanical field, or specifically the engineering field, since I'm not too sure which engineering field I want to be in. I want to be able to show that I have these skills, that they will help me for the future, and also help me for my major in college. My first artifact will be the Columbian Exchange. I was taught this in 10th grade during AP World History. This was on the New World unit, and we were given a prompt, which was the Columbian Exchange a positive effect on the New World? We learned about the different effects that had happened during this time, and we were given a DBQ, which is a database question, and in that you are given 8 to 7 documents, and within that you analyze what each document is saying. We have this, my teacher has this little posters on the wall that kind of have the rhythm to do it, which is corroboration, I can't say that, my bad guys, sourcing, and 2 more that are related to just trying to see what they said, who said it, their perspective, when they said it, do other people match, and that was what we were doing here, trying to see if the New World had a positive effect from the Columbian Exchange. My overall answer to that was no, and through that, we would put down documents, or on a document that my teacher had provided, and we would put down the evidence onto a general evidence, which it was. I put diseases and the label they had put, and from there you put down the documents in particular. So you put down document 4, the text, or document 1, and here we would show the use of evidence to support the claim, whether if you agree there was a positive effect or if it wasn't. Here I put thinkers. I think it connects to thinkers. The reason why is because we had to engage in an argument, picking a stance on either if it was or wasn't a positive effect, and from there we would use evidence from our DPQs to help us support that claim. So as you can see here, I took some photos from my actual document that I was given. Over here, if you guys can, yeah, there we go. It is my stance in the green, it is my stance, and then my other greens are also examples I had put. So over here, we can see the diseases, the measles I mentioned, or the measles that were mentioned in the dog 6, for example. And then over here was the treatment, dog 1. My teacher had told us to put down the dots to the side to make sure we knew where we would be referencing, as well as to make sure that we weren't just coming up with random answers on the fly, and we actually had a reference point. So some strengths I had was evidence, the introduction, my planning, and then the connecting evidence. This is the document that I had hinted at earlier, where we put down our ideas. Over here, I put down body 1, the diseases, and then body 2, arch labor and treatment. I felt like I was able to get enough evidence for all of them and also pinpoint to where exactly in the essay I wanted. My introduction, I was kind of struggling on that for a bit. I'm not normally the best at doing introductions, but with some help from my teacher at the time, he was able to make it better, and he did enjoy my introduction, which I felt really accomplished in, because as mentioned, I'm not really that good at making a hooking introduction. Planning, him giving this document to us really did help out for the planning, allowing us to put in that headspace, that free reign of getting ideas, plotting them down, and then later on just filling them out by the order really did help trying to make this essay. And it left me more, not confined, but being able to actually put it in a proper manner and just being lost in my own thoughts. Connecting, just trying to phrase it in the essay itself, I felt like I was able to connect them in pretty well without kind of doing the old. In document 6, it said I was able to freely put it in and then just reference the document. Some challenges though that I did face was organizing time management. Mostly the time management was because of the organizing, so at the beginning I didn't really know how to do this, and I also was kind of getting picky, trying to put specific, oh, I want this evidence first, and then this one. And after a talk with my teacher, he had told me, don't do that, just fit whatever feels right at the moment. Don't try to get too niche picky with it. As well as I was trying to get another piece of evidence in there, and my teacher had also told me, don't do that as well, you're wasting too much time on it. you don't have enough evidence, it is fine, you already have enough on the other two. So I took that to heart, and I was able to get a 4 out of 4 on this. My improvements, I really wish I was able to add that other piece of evidence. I felt like I was able to do it, but due to my poor time management, I wasn't able to. So if I were to redo this, I would actually ask my teacher this time how he feels if I could implement that third one and actually see if it was possible. Just organizing the essay layout better. I tried doing that a lot, but I also was fumbling a bit on that, and it wasn't until my teacher had come in and help that I was actually able to get down. So I would have also asked my teacher for advice on that in the beginning, and just better use of my time, trying to see planning out accordingly rather than just going in the moment trying to plan it throughout, since most assignments that are time-based, because this was due in either a week and a half, if I remember correctly. Normally I kind of stall a bit here and there, so I would just use my time better. So interrelations for the real world and for my other classes, we always, in engineering, when trying to make a new product, we always have to discuss the benefits, the negatives, the cons, the pros, and in here, it's basically the same. You try to get evidence that proves your claim, and you try to present it out to your peers, see if they agree or not, but it does need to be strong evidence, just like how we have it here, and the 4 posters that my teacher has really supported that idea. And for AP testing, that is one of the questions in English. Last year I had seen it in my English AP test, and this year I will most likely see it, but I will read a document, and from that I have to make a stance, and from the text I'm gathered, I have to support it with evidence that. My next one is the Great Gatsby project. This was taught in 11th grade AP English. This was after we had read The Great Gatsby and we had watched the 2 movies, the 1970 one, I think it was 1970s, and the Leonardo DiCaprio remake. So this prompt was just like Gatsby himself. We had to find an issue within ourselves, and from there we would look up ways to help solve it, and from there we would make a plan, just like how he did. It was in a journal. Instead, here we had Google Slides planning out for the next 30 days on how to improve it. Here, it shows the use of analysis, also reflection, to help overcome one's own issue. This is because we had to analyze a problem within ourselves, and when looking at different solutions, we also had to make sure that they would work for us and they weren't just faulty results that we think would work. We really had to look into ourselves and go, this result would help us, this one would not. And here it is thinkers and communicators. Thinkers because we had to participate in a sense of our own criticism, our own critiques, seeing what we do need help, what is our flaw, and from there try to improve it. And for communicators, once we were done at the end of this assignment, this project, we had to present to our peers, and we had to explain our thinking, had to explain how we feel with our own issues. Most people had similar issues, but you had to explain how you felt personally with that, and also the outcomes that you saw would benefit you more. So here, this was my improvement, time management, as we hinted at earlier with my DBQ, and then procrastination. So over here, it was where I currently was at the moment, and then over here is where I want to be in the next 30 days. And then right here was kind of the end. Once we were done with it, we put a little summary from where you want to be, the goal, where you land, and how you'll be doing it. So some strengths I had were the information provided, the slide designs, and also just discussing the information. I was able to find a lot of good information, and I felt I was able to put that into my slides. We'll get to that in a little bit on how maybe the slides wasn't that well, but I did feel like I gathered enough information that was beneficial not only for myself, but to my classmates, and trying to explain it. Personally, when it comes to presentations, I like to match the slides according to the theme, and for the Great Gatsby, I felt like I was able to find a design that really fit it, and I felt personally added to the presentation. And lastly, for discussing information, just like here, I felt like I was able to present it without having to constantly, look back and read off the slides. I was able to put it into my own words and let people read the slides if they wanted to. However, some challenges I had were, you might say this is ironic, time management, since that was the thing I was trying to solve, organization, and over focusing. For organization, as we can see here, these slides, well, they don't look very pretty, do they? There's a bunch of text, and that was one thing I hadn't realized until the very end, and that was due to my poor time management. The reason why is because for time management is other classmates would ask for help or ideas, and I would get distracted, I would go help them, and I wouldn't work on my own, and when I got home, I would work on other assignments that I had to have during that day. So I wouldn't get to work on it until the following day, and it just kind of repeated. So I never got to properly make it look nice the way I felt I was with my senior defense or any other project that I have done in the past. So it was very much cluttered, so it looks very filled. The over-focusing was during one of the portions, we had to look into different medias. So here is YouTube. We looked into free medias. It was YouTube, websites, and an advertisement from a different media. So that could have been Twitter, that could have been Instagram, just any other media that wasn't a website or YouTube. However, I had not used Instagram at the time, and when trying to find it on Twitter, I couldn't find anything really that I felt spoke to me or I felt like would relate to me and actually benefit me. So I was kind of lost, and I didn't know how to solve it until near the end. I had asked my teacher, and he had told me, don't worry, you can just find an image, you can put that instead. It's kind of related to the website, but you can't find anything else, and you don't have an Instagram account, you can just do that. So that's what I did, but I was kind of focusing on that too much that I didn't really notice my other slides. Improvements would be utilizing social media effectively. I think I would actually try to learn social media instead of trying to avoid it. This time I would actually take a look into Instagram, probably make an account or ask friends for their own. That way I can put them in instead of just not having anything and then until the end asking my teacher, what do I do? Also, just narrowing down the ideas, 2 bullet points. This video in particular I really liked, but I think I could have really put it into bullet points and simplified it for everyone in my class, and as well for myself, because during this section I did kind of get lost, but that's just because I really liked the idea. In this video, the guy talks about a philosopher who begged the question, do we truly not have time to do anything, or is that just a saying we have, that way we can avoid it, because we're afraid of not doing so? And he pondered the question that what stops us from just, this may seem morbid, but he pondered the question, what stops us from taking our own lives if we don't consider we have time for anything else? Why don't you do so? And it's for yourself, and you need to find the time in order to get what you want. And one quote that actually stuck out to me from this video was, you have enough time in the day to do what you want. And I think for many of us, we see hours go by, minutes go by, and we think we don't have enough time to do what we want. But you do, you just need to set your mind to it, and that's one thing that I really took to heart. And when trying to do assignments, I try to constantly remember that. That way, I can still do it without having to slack and be behind. For relations, that building challenge, this was during 9th grade during COVID time, so this was online. My old math teacher, Miss Blue, had selected me and 2 fellow students to be in a team. That was Chris and Brianna. And from there, we were to pick a solution or a problem, a global problem, and try to solve it using an app. For us, we had debated either world hunger or health problems that could either be physical or mental, and we chose well-being rather than world hunger. And here we had to look into that issue, we had to find solutions, and then within our app we had to find ways to make it clear and condensed. Self-revision, everyone does this, and we just need to constantly look into ourselves, see what we can do better, and we just have to do this when going into a new field. And for engineering, that's one thing you always have to do. You have to look back at your invention, and you have to see what you can improve, what needs to be changed, what needs to be removed. My last artifact for today will be my CGI mock interview. I did this in 10th grade during STEM lab. I would have done my 11th grade one, but some complications occurred on school results. So the prompt was we were going to partake in a CGI mock interview. This was to help us get started with interviewing, being in the real world, and learning these skills for when we do actually apply to a real job. And we did answer mock interview questions ahead of time, and we were to kind of just look over them. That way we would be prepared for when those potential questions were asked in the interviews. So it does show readiness for the real world jobs and any other applications, maybe internships or colleges. Even some colleges did require interviews. Here it was thinkers and college and career ready. This time wasn't because we did our own participation of critiques, but we were participating to get critiqued by these interviewers. They would provide us feedback and let us know what we did well, what we needed to improve, what we need to change. And for thinkers, it's because we had, I was for thinkers, my bad. For college and career, it's because we learned independently, so we were put there by ourselves, and we had no guidance from any other teachers. We had to be prepared. We had to try to learn from our own experiments when doing that, trying to see what worked, what we did need to improve on. So here are my two interviews. As you can see, during 2022, they were online during this time. So we were there in a room, and they were on Zoom, and they were somewhere else. We all had our masks, we had our suits. We did look nice. We still had everything. It's not like typical Zoom where you have your top portion and maybe your pants or your sweatpants. No, we had the whole suit still. So we were taking this like a real interview. So here, this is some of the results I had gone back. They're not all of them. So my strengths that I had picked up was a strong introduction, which is welcoming myself and telling a little bit about myself to them. Thoughtful responses, so anytime they had asked me a question, I had been able to respond thoughtfully and in a way where I gave details to them without kind of doing the basic answers and actually giving them a full detailed response. Attitude and eye contact, this was actually kind of hard because we're on Zoom, and the first thing when you're on Zoom is you think, man, I could be anywhere else besides the Zoom call. So keeping eye contact was kind of difficult, but I was able to do it. I had a little trick. Anytime I did look away from the screen, I would instantly just look back up because I realized the screen was no longer in my peripheral view because Zoom was Zoom, guys. So big challenges, I should say, they're right here. This was some of my challenges. Informal language. When doing these type of presentations or interviews, I do get really comfortable, and sometimes I let out language that may not be appropriate, not too bad that you guys might be thinking, but just language that isn't formal for the situation. So that was something that I did have to improve on, and something I did take notice for myself. And the next time I did my next set, which was my second one, I had tried to improve on it. That way I wouldn't repeat the same mistakes. So attire, they had commented that my attire wasn't fully well done, and I think mostly for the part was because I have cats and I love my cats, and in the morning sometimes I cuddle next to them and they shed. If you have cats or dogs, you would know that they shed a lot. So I had cat fur on me and I had forgot to get a roller to take it off. So yeah, posture, this one I struggle with in general. Challenge for me in general is just posture. I can't really keep it up. My parents have tried and I have tried, and sometimes I just hunch back a bit, and because I can't keep it up. Still something I am trying, but for these type of interviews I have to know that I have to keep a posture that is well formed, because it's a serious business. You can't just be slouched doing something like this. And then voice projection. This one I was unsure of because of Zoom technology. I don't know if my voice was cutting out or I was too far away because I was on a laptop and I misjudged the voice, but they had commented that my voice projection was a little bit off, and to improve it for the next time. Some improvements I would have done was actually take care of my cat hair, so this time I did that for anything professional. Voice projection, I try to ask the panel or anyone I'm interviewing if the voice is good. That way I know where to keep it at, so then it isn't misplayed. And just expand on my explanation of value. One of them had commented to explain more on why you would be a valuable candidate, and that is something I had not taken into consideration because I was too focused on the question. I had forgot that I need to sell myself, that I would be valid for this position. So that is something I'm still trying to work on to this day. And the relations is Oh, my bad, guys. Career interviews, we're going to be doing this constantly. You guys have done this before. I need to do it in the future. It's just something we're always going to be doing, especially if you're not too sure, like myself, in what field you want to be in. You have to be ready to do a bunch of interviews to switch positions. And self-revision, you need to be able to, as mentioned before, recognize what you need to improve on, as well as, when it comes to engineering, see what needs to be improved on for your device. So, conclusion, am I college and career ready? Before, I would always say at the end of this, during practice, I was unsure, but I feel like today, I am mostly set. That may be concerning, but I think it's an honest answer that some of us do need to hear. I think for the most part, I am college and career ready. No one is truly ready. As mentioned before, you may say you know everything in a matter, but chances are you truly don't. And for this, that is something I recognize. I may say I'm college and career ready, but the truth is I'm probably still missing a few skills that I need to work on. So I would like to say I'm college and career ready. I hope you guys can say I'm college and career ready. But no matter what, whether I am or not, I will constantly learn so I can be in the future. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so I know you mentioned time management was a challenge, and it was even what you focused on in your Gatsby growth project. I know you mentioned watching that YouTube video. Were there any like steps or things that you got from your research that really gave you something to follow to improve your time management?
There were, I apologize, I couldn't get to that. I think for some of these, I was missing some of that, so I will try to explain in these questions. For that one, there were a couple of them. One was to do a to-do list, but one of them had said to not do a to-do list, but a priority list, and that one, when I had realized, it was the second choice, or a later document I had read, it was from a website. And when I read that, I went, that's gonna work. That's something I need to do. Because as mentioned before, you need to realize what will work for you and what won't. And I had heard people say, to-do lists, they don't work. They just tell you what you need to do, and chances are you're not gonna do it. So if you put a priority list of what is high priority and what isn't, and you take everything into account, when it's due, how big it is, what the scores are, that was one of them that I had really taken into account. Another one as well was keeping a desk area clean. So I had said keep your environment clean, that way you can be focused, and I had not realized to that point that my desk was, and now, regrettably, is kind of dirty. Normally I put a lot of things on there, so when I found that out, I tried cleaning it up, and as time went on, I put more stuff on it, so now it is another time that I have to go clean it, that way I can get more focused into my work. And another one that I also kept for myself was a 20-minute rule. This one was actually something that I really enjoyed and was actually quite interesting. It was to do 20 minutes of an assignment that you felt like was long. If you knew that you cannot keep your mind to it for more than 20 minutes, you put a timer for 20 minutes. Once that's up, if you feel like you're in the groove of it, you continue and you restart it. But if you don't, you take a 5-minute break and you go back to it.
You may have mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate and maybe get a little bit more clarity. Of the 3 categories, analysis, argument, and problem solving, where do each of your artifacts lie?
So, if I can, oh, wrong button, my bad guys. So this one right here was a bit of analysis and argumentative. I tried to do a mixture for these, that way they covered multiple grounds, but also I can try to learn from them. So this one right here, my culmination exchange, was analysis and argumentative. I don't know if you want a quick explanation as to why. Do you, or no? Okay, so this one was my argumentative and analysis. Oh, my bad guys. My Great Gatsby here was that of analysis and problem solving, because we had to try to solve our own problems that we had seen. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm explaining this to you guys. If you guys want it, it's fine, but a quick little explanation as to why. We needed to solve our own personal problems, and we need to make a solution to it, as mentioned to here, to you guys, some solutions I did find. and it was meant to be in 30 days, but obviously I think we should be keeping these going forward until the problem is solved. And analysis, basically looking to what would work for you and what are your core issues coming to that problem. As mentioned before, I thought the to-do list was good, and then when I really looked into myself, I realized, no, I don't think that would work until I saw the priority list. And then for the CGI mock interview, this one was more or less analysis post-fact due to getting the review and seeing what you did need to improve on afterwards. So it wasn't more or less in the moment, it was more or less afterwards, once we had gotten the critiques, seeing what you would need to improve on for a next potential interview you would get.
Just real quick though, you talked about some of the feedback that you got for your CGI. You talked about how some of us, including myself, at times when we're on Zoom, maybe the bottom part was, a PJ, right, not the rest. But why do you think it is important to be well presented in an interview or today or in a professional setting?
It's important to show, I guess, the seriousness and the dedication you have for it. Obviously, some people may say, oh, you don't need that, but I think to really show your dedication and seriousness to it, you need to show that you're willing to be well-formed and look presentable. Obviously, many of us would rather show up like the Big Lebowski to work and not have to worry about that. But I do think it shows a level of care and craft, and I also think it is an impressionable thing, not only to students like myself, but also I think other adults, in all honesty. I think sometimes when you see other people being well-formed, you kind of take it upon yourself to do that, and I feel like it gives you the sense of confidence that you need sometimes in a workplace. Obviously, when you're looking like the Big Lebowski, you feel more relaxed, but doing something like this, it can be a bit nerve-wracking, and when you have something like this, I feel like you feel more comfortable to present and show your work, or to work in general, especially for being a teacher. I think also you have to constantly be in front of kids. It's kind of like a performer at either a concert or an amusement park. You constantly have to be in front of people, and just being well-formed, I think, keeps you in that energy to keep doing it, even when you do get tired as the day goes on.